Dan Orlovsky joins us for his weekly visit. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Yes, I'm awkwardly tall. I have, since puberty, I've been awkwardly tall and awkwardly unathletic. So it's just kind of the cards I've been dealt.
Where are you? What are you? 6'5", 6'6"?
I think I'm like 6'5". I think at the combine, which is 20 years ago now, I was like 6'5" and 5'8". But I think part of it is I'm 6'5" and 5'8" and like 207 pounds. I used to be like 250 playing. So it's like very tall, not a lot of muscle, and like very lean. So I feel like I look taller just because of that.
You're looking good, though. You got some great suits, some great outfits, and you did a great job on TV the other day, Dan. Talk about Bo Nix and his performance. What'd you see from him? Obviously played much better than week one. They weren't able to get the win. What'd you see from Bo in week two?
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot better. It's got to calm the nerves a little bit coming off of week one. Yeah, I think, you saw some of the natural playmaking that presented itself a lot, certainly in the back half of last year. That was really encouraging. They got him on the move more than they did in week one. The operation of some of their RPO stuff or their 4x1 empty game stuff was similar to what it was last year. So I think you feel good about that. I did see some stuff that gives you that hesitation that was a little bit of the early of the season stuff last year that, he's just got to continue to clean up over the course of the season. I thought, number one, assumed two or three times what the coverage or what the defense was going to do instead of reading it out or being proactive with some stuff. I think he left the pocket two or three times too early or drifted in a pocket a couple times, two or three times too early unnecessarily that, definitely impacted negatively the performance of the play and his performance of it. So, again, overall improved than week one, but still I think he's going to settle into the player that we saw the last half of the season.
How difficult is that when, you've got all these expectations? Sean Payton throws expectations on these guys all the time. He talked about Bo being a top 5 quarterback here in the next couple of years. How hard is that to have those expectations and to still be patient with it as a learning process as opposed to trying to rush into being great right off the bat?
Yeah, it's hard. And I think for a guy like Bo, and I don't know him, but just from my observations of him, I think it makes it even harder when you get the expectations of the coach and his background, the team performance and the roster last year, and then where they are, just being honest, of 1 through 53 talent-wise, and then an athlete like him that, again, not knowing him personally, but seems ultra-competitive and a perfectionist, and then very hyper at times. And so you get all of those things together, and that's why you see some of the franticness at times. That's why you saw it certainly back at Auburn and went away a little bit at Oregon for the most part. I just think that combination is something that you constantly have to be on top of. And then you get into competitive situations where you're trying to win football games and you're trying to do what's ever necessary. And so it's a process. He's got the right people around him. It's got to be very encouraging that he settled in last week to kind of the guy that he should be and has shown to be. And so I would fully expect him only to get better. Massive, massive, massive challenge this weekend, but only continue to climb.
Visiting with Dan Orlovsky as we do each and every week. And Dan, you certainly weren't alone, but I saw comments you made this summer, this fall during training camp about how bullish you were about this Broncos defense. I wonder if your belief in this Broncos defense changed at all after what you saw on Sunday.
No, my belief in them, no, but I can be honest in saying they got handled this past weekend, and that was shocking. The linebackers are getting attacked right now in coverage, and so that they're going to have to figure that out just schematically of how to play that better, and teams are scheming up ways to attack those backers, whether it's with tight ends or whether it's with backs, whether it's some quick game stuff that takes advantages of those matchups, or they're giving those backers a lot to look at and trying to drift stuff over their heads. So I think, one, that's probably got to be something that is really a focus point of theirs. I'll be honest, the corners got worked over a little bit as well. Like Patrick Surtain's Defensive Player of the Year, he got beat this past week in ways that I don't really remember him getting beat. Like, game on the line, Alec Pierce runs away from him on a shallow cross. And so, that was uncharacteristic for them. I actually thought the pressure was pretty good by the front. Daniel just played at a very good level in that pressure. And so, again, I think schematically it's more those backers really honing in. I would expect both corners and really Patrick Surtain to play better than they did this past Sunday.
Yeah, Dan, they got a tough test this week, more difficult than last week, you would imagine. And it was disappointing watching the defense. I thought that would be a low-scoring football game, and they didn't come to play. Talk about Justin Herbert. You think he's a great quarterback. What are the challenges for this defense after that type of performance last week?
Yeah, it feels different with Herbert and the Chargers. It feels like they have flipped in saying, okay, we're going to be a very aggressive pass game on early downs. And so I think, number one, what you have is this team that is they're physically, offensively a big unit. They have their 5 offensive linemen are massive people, and then they've got that 300-pound fullback tight end Scott Matlock that they'll bring on the field. And so he's a versatile piece that, just from a football perspective, you got those 5 offensive linemen and him on the field. You got to put big people on the field to handle some of their run game stuff, right? Just by sheer size. And so how is Denver going to handle that is a big question. Their backs go on average about 235. So it's a big unit when it comes to that. Hampton's a really good player. He's a physical player. He's got really good vision outside in, runs behind his pad. So their run game, which hasn't been a massive part through 2 weeks, big deal. I think what you're seeing is Greg Roman, the play caller, unleash a play-action pass game on these early downs. And so I think that's the dichotomy defensively for the Broncos is like they come out and will put 6 offensive linemen and like a tight end on the field. And so the threat and intent is there to run the football on 1st and 10, and then some of these play actions come. And so these play actions with a Quinston Johnson running deep and then a McConkey working the middle, and then there's that check down, and you don't have a pass rush because there's 6 offensive linemen blocking, and you're like, all right, this is tough. This is tough to match up against. And so really aggressive throwing the ball in early downs. Justin's legs have become a massive part of his game so far through 2 games. McConkey's difficult to handle. Jim Harbaugh said he reminded him of Marvin Harrison, just his ability to win on routes. And so it's a really good offense to handle right now.
What about the flip side of it? The Broncos offense attacking that Chargers defense, and they've got, speaking of chess pieces, Derwin James is a freaking unbelievable chess piece out there on defense. So what about the flip side of that matchup?
Yeah, the defense suffocates you. The defense and the way that they go about it is they give you nothing. And Stink offensively, and Stoke, it's like this. The way I look at it is you have to be patient against them. You have to be explosive against them. And those 2 things cannot happen at the same time. And I think that's where play caller and quarterback really get themselves in trouble is you have to have this methodical, patient mindset. And can you do that 10, 11, 12, 14 times in a row? Because then you're like, I got to go get a chunk. At some point, I got to get a chunk. And then you chase the chunk completion and it becomes a sack and drive is over, or it's a overthrow that gets tipped and it's a pick. And so and the way that they play their defense is they play a zone pass coverage, right? But it's not to spots, it's the concepts. And so you sit there and go, I should be able to get completions against zone, but they're matching those concepts. They're so prepared with the routes that you're going to run or the combinations that you're going to run that while it's a zone, no one's open, And I think from a quarterback perspective, you're always taught, zone defense, someone's always open. And then you watch this zone defense because they match the concept. You're like, ain't no one open, man. And so it's a unit that's tough, man. They're very, very, very good.
Dan Orlovsky join us. Dan, last one here. Are the Chiefs done? Is this it? Is this the year they take a huge step back?
Yeah, trending towards that, and you have to have the 10, 20, 30% respect for everything, right? Like, you don't want to be disrespectful, at least from my vantage point. Oh, yeah, you guys stink. But also we can look at football and go, like I've said this really for the better part of a year now, certainly these last 2 weeks. Tell me what they do well offensively. They don't have an identity, a calling card, a foundation offensively. Their offensive line can't run block or pass block well. Even their guys, like Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, are struggling. Their tight ends cannot block in the run game. Their backs are struggling with vision in the run game when there is a hole. The receivers aren't getting open on a consistent basis. There's no schematics that they're relying upon. Patrick's played pretty darn good in 2 games, and he's 0-2. And he's made some heroic plays, but that's just not going to last forever. We can sit here and pretend it's not. So they're struggling, man, and I just don't see where the answer is. You can sit here and tell me Hollywood Brown and, their first-round pick. My mind's blanking on him right now.
Xavier Worthy.
Worthy, that they're going to solve everything. No, they're not. They're not just going to line up and run go routes on everybody. And so they're in a tough spot right now.
Great stuff, Dan, especially on the game that you called the Chargers. Very, very interested to hear what you had to say. That's a tremendous breakdown, and we'll certainly be responding to that. We appreciate it. Thank you. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky join us as he does each and every week. Joel Klatt joins us last hour. Yeah, we got a lot to react to because that was kind of a sobering analysis of the Chargers that I don't know if I'm really happy to have heard. We'll get into that next.